Hello and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. Rivian has updated their pricing at their Rivian Adventure Network stations across the United States. Almost every single station has seen a price increase, as much as 29 cents, as low as 3 cents. I want to thank my friend Chad from Rivian Roamer who put this spreadsheet together to help us get a full analysis of what these price increases are looking like. You'll see here, Bozeman, Montana, 36 cents originally, now it's 52 cents for Rivians. 48 cents originally for non-Rivians, now it's 61 cents for non-Rivians. Rivian's Adventure Network stations have always been priced competitively, sometimes 3 to 10 cents cheaper than Tesla Superchargers, Electrify America. But now it's being priced a little bit more than what we're seeing at the Tesla Superchargers or at Electrify America. You'll see here in Belgrade, Montana, it costs 49 cents per kilowatt hour for non-Teslas to charge a Tesla supercharging network. Meaning, it is cheaper for you to charge your Rivian at Tesla's own network than it is to charge your Rivian at Rivian's network. Why is that? What is going on where Rivian is increasing the prices so much? You'll see here, right? Oregon, Virginia, some stations in Colorado, a station in Arizona. A few stations saw no price increase. They stayed the same price that they always been. I want to say about 100 of them, if not a little less, have seen a decent price increase. Out of Rivian's 107 current live Rivian Adventure Network stations, here again, right? Walker, Michigan, Waynesboro, Virginia, 17 cents, 18 cents respectively. Here again, right? 29 cents we're seeing a price increase in Linwood, Washington. 36 cents originally, 65 cents. Now, to talk about this more, I brought Rivian owner Chris Hilbert, who first brought my attention to this. Let's talk about it with him. This episode has been made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in this episode's description. Hey Chris, how are you doing?
Hey, Isaiah, I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. So you just made a tweet and I saw this on my timeline and I was like, ooh, this is pretty big news. So I thought I'd invite you on to talk about it. Have this tweet here showing Rivian pricing. This is in Joshua Tree. So we see Rivian vehicles, 63 cents per kilowatt hour. Other vehicles, non-Rivians, 74 cents per kilowatt hour. And before that, this specific station charging for Rivian vehicles, 45 cents a kilowatt hour, and then non-Rivians was 60 cents a kilowatt hour. So a huge jump across the board. And we see it in other locations as well. What do you think of all this?
I think it's probably due to cost, right? But ultimately, it's getting up there with some of the even more expensive third parties like EVgo, Electrify America, and so forth. So it's starting to push ICE pricing in terms of how much it costs to go on a road trip. And the other thing to notice is that I believe the same location or nearby locations are all cheaper on the Tesla Supercharger network. So
Right.
maybe that's coming next for Tesla as well. Maybe they're going to do a price hike too. Rivian's just catching up to the others.
It could be the case. So, of course, if that happens, and we'll have to make an update video as well. And I'm definitely watching what Tesla, Electrify America, EVgo, ChargePoint are doing with their stations. But yeah, 74 cents per kilowatt hour is, very competitive with what a gas-powered vehicle would get you to plug in and charge.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be paying those rates. I can say that. I would, at this price point, I would be strictly on the Supercharger network based on their pricing being significantly cheaper. Before, as a Rivian owner, it was pretty much neck and neck with the Supercharger network when their sites were nearby. But now it's clearly differentiator in terms of Supercharger being much cheaper. And so I don't see myself using a RAN unless you have free charging through the referral program.
That's a good point as well. Yeah, a lot of Rivian owners have free charging, so this isn't something that's going to affect them. But of course, seeing the pricing hike for non-Rivians, but also just Rivian owners who don't have free charging, this is a pretty significant change. Now, this specific station in Joshua Tree here, looking at other gas station prices specifically in Joshua Tree, it's about $4.40 per gallon of fuel. And a Toyota Tacoma has an anywhere from an 18 to 21 gas tank size. And so that's $78 to pretty much fill up your Toyota Tacoma. And if we do the same thing for, the Rivian R1T, 140 kilowatt hour battery, of course we have the large pack, the standard pack, and the max pack. But yeah, that 140 times, that's, 63, that's $88 to fill up your Rivian. And that's for Rivians. So of course, if you have something like a Cybertruck or a Lightning and you want to use Rivian's network, that's $103. Just about. So $100 to fill up your EV. It's just interesting to see so soon EV public DC fast charging rates be competitive and surpass the cost for gas vehicles. It's kind of, home charging is where it's at, right? Most people are going to be home charging. But I expected it to take quite a bit of time for pricing to charge your EV to really match that for your gas powered vehicle. This is a lot.
Before it used to be cheaper, right? So like,
Right.
if in general, so like you could say, it took me an extra hour to make this road trip, but I saved 40% or whatever it was, 50% on energy. Now it's getting neck and neck, and then you add the delay in that you have to spend an hour charging on your road trip
Right.
on top of what would be a, let's say, 10-hour, 12-hour, whatever your road trip is, right? And so it's going to be an interesting spot to be in terms of like, how do you sell EVs for road trips when the road trips actually cost more in an EV?
It's nuts. I'm even looking here, trying to see superchargers in the area. So this Joshua Tree supercharger, peak rates 45 cents a kilowatt hour. And that is with membership pricing or if you own a Tesla. So it's a little bit more for non-Tesla vehicles without the membership. So still a lot less than Rivian. Again, it could be the case that Rivian is just ahead of a pricing increase that we'll see from other charge point operators. But yeah, this is competitive with what we'll see at the pump. I'm curious if maybe Rivian is doing this because they have some market advantage. We know Rivian's network is still expanding. They have over 100 chargers, Rivian Adventure Network stations at this point. And they will continue to expand with their version 1.5 stalls, which make it public, right? Non-Rivian EVs can use them. Do you think maybe it's because Rivian knows their network is very reliable, maybe because the Joshua Tree space is a space and a refueling kind of rechargery as well? You can get snacks, use the bathroom.
I don't see anything other than the cost to stand up to the station, and the fact that energy prices probably are going up. So the funny thing is, if you look at California, for example, most of the charging stations went up like anywhere from 15 to 20 something cents per kilowatt hour. You go to like Illinois and it goes up, 5-10 cents, right? So like,
Right.
I would argue that it's probably related to the actual energy costs themselves. Rivian also hasn't gotten a lot of the NEVI funding, to my knowledge. They built a lot of this out ahead of the NEVI. So for those that don't know, that's the government funding from the Inflation Reduction Act. And so there's a lot of free money that helped stand up a lot of the other makers' chargers, but Rivian has not had a lot of that. The ones in Illinois they did, and maybe that's the reason it's cheaper. I don't know. The one in Springfield and in Normal that EV guy Zach tweeted out, those only went up like 5 cents or something. But yeah, there's got to be a reason, and I'm going to go with energy cost.
could likely, I mean, of course, because it's regional, seeing more price hikes in others than some, but because we're seeing it at just about every single Rivian station, I just feel like there's more behind it. But yeah, you're right here, right? Zach, who lives in the Normal area, showing that prices originally 44 cents per kilowatt hour for Rivian vehicles, now 47, and then 58 cents per kilowatt hour for non-Rivian EVs, now 62. So not as high as, that 20 cents increase that we see in Joshua Tree, but still a tiny increase.
I would argue those 40 cents ones are reasonable. Like that is a reasonable price. The cheaper Tesla ones are in the mid 20s, I think, sometimes the very low 20s, but
Especially
for the most
off-peak.
part, what's that?
Especially off-peak
Off-peak.
charging
I'm
prices.
talking off-peak, yeah, and ones that don't have any peak. Those are in the 20s, and so like the RAN being 40 something cents is roughly twice the Tesla, but still cheaper than 3 times being the 60s, right? And so I used to joke that EVgo, I called them EV gouge because all of them are like 60 cents, and it's like those are premium electrons they're selling you. That's why they're expensive. It's premium electrons, and now Rivian is up there with them. They're going to be selling premium electrons too. I always thought Shell Recharge would be the first to offer premium electrons, but no, it was EVgo, and then Rivian coming in hot with their 60 center out in California. Or 70 center if you're not a Rivian owner.
74 cents. Now, yeah, as you mentioned, Rivian previously, especially at the beginning of the Rivian Adventure Network for only Rivian vehicles, pricing was pretty competitive. In fact, in a lot of areas, it was a lot lower than what standard pricing would be for other public networks. And slowly that's become more competitive, and they've been pricing themselves just about or below what the average price would be. But as you mentioned, right, if we see this electricity costs across the board start to increase, we could definitely see other networks from Tesla, EVgo, Electrify America, Iona, BP Pulse, Shell start to increase their prices as well.
Yeah, it's going to be ultimately it could be like gas stations where we have signs out front telling you who's got the lowest price, and you could also get into energy price wars, right? In terms of like daily moving prices, like gas stations where the guy across the street is 2 cents cheaper, so then everyone marks their price down 2 cents. I could see that happening. The beauty of an EV is that the pricing is all built into the UI for the most part. I'm going to say that for the big players, but maybe someday it's not, or maybe there's enough prevalent stations that they don't need that anymore, and they can just drive down the road and you find 5 different charging stations. They all post the price out front. You can buy the cheapest.
Right. Yeah. Daily, even down to just the minute price changes of what it costs to charge. That could be the future. That could be the future. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Chris. Of course, as this story develops, we'll keep you guys updated on the Out of Spec podcast. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. This is the Out of Spec podcast. My name is Isaiah. Thank you again for joining me, Chris, and we will see you guys in the next one.